Welcome to the Leadership Spark podcast, where we equip you to be the great leader your people deserve. This is Corey, and today I want to share with you something about leadership that I heard from Tory Aikman. If you know who Tory Aikman is, the former Hall of Fame quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and what he said about the need for a leader to set the pace with urgency. So I was watching Monday Night Football, and I was watching, it was the Chicago Bears were playing, and Tory Aikman was commentating on the game, and he was talking about the new head coach, Ben Johnson, of the Chicago Bears, and how Ben Johnson, as the new head coach, coming into a new team as the leader, coming into a culture that hasn't won in a really long time, and you're trying to change the culture, that it's important for the leader to set the pace when it comes to urgency. And it got me thinking about, okay, if that's true for Ben Johnson as the leader of the Chicago Bears, that's probably true for all of us who are leading within our organizations, is that as leaders, it is our job to set the pace when it comes to urgency. And what I mean by urgency here is the feel and the pressure to move at the appropriate pace, to move fast, and to have like this feeling of urgency around the direction that we're going in, or the vision that we're trying to accomplish, or the project that we're trying to drive across the finish line. Because where there's a lack of urgency, there can be this birth of complacency. And whenever things become complacent, or people become complacent, things stop growing and we stop producing at the level that we need to. And so it's healthy as a leader to be able to set the pace when it comes to urgency. And so I thought about that, and I thought about 3 ways that we can set the pace for urgency. And I want you to listen to these 3 ways, and I want you to pick one as you're going to, because not all of us as leaders, we set the pace of urgency the same way. Some people may be the rah-rah leader. You like to get in front, you like to galvanize, you like to rally the troops. And that's your way to create or communicate urgency, is from up front, being the extrovert, being the galvanizer of all the people. Other people may not like that. They may not respond to that. And so you may be wanting to set the pace of urgency by your model, by modeling excellence, by modeling your work ethic, by modeling following through. And so there's multiple styles of leadership, or ways that urgency can manifest itself. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility as leaders to set the pace for urgency. And so I want to share with you 3 quick ways that you can do that. Number 1 is you can galvanize, whatever that means to you, around the why now. And so it's important to not just talk about the why, it's important to talk about the why now. That this is why we are focusing on this priority now. This is why we are heading in this direction now. This is why you are being asked to do this now. And so when you communicate the why, people get the context around the urgency, because urgency without context can feel very arbitrary and can drive some complacency or some confusion. And so you want to be able to communicate the why. When people understand the stakes and they understand the timing, they're going to be more motivated to act fast, or act at the speed that you want. And so as a leader, you can set the pace for urgency by galvanizing around the why now. The second is you model excellence. Is that as a leader, you commit to make quick, well-informed decisions, and you work in a visible way out the priorities that you're setting. You do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and you deliver as a leader. And you communicate this to your team through the model that you set for them. And so people on your team are going to mirror your behavior as a leader. If you are complacent, if you are not setting the pace for urgency, your people will follow your lead. If you are, they will follow your lead if they understand the why, which we talked about just a second ago. And so when they see you moving with intention and decisiveness, they're going to take the cue that something matters, that urgency matters. And so you can do that as a leader. If you want to set the pace, you model excellence. And the last one is you remove bottlenecks immediately. If you see bottlenecks that are preventing people from doing their job, if you see bottlenecks or hear about bottlenecks that are preventing people from moving fast, it's your job as a leader to remove those bottlenecks. And so that really only comes from staying close to the front lines. That comes from staying close to the people on your team and having one-on-one meetings and talking about, is there anything that is blocking you from achieving the goals or the priorities that we have agreed to and set together? And so you're going to do is this. As a leader, you have to set the pace when it comes to urgency. And I would encourage you to pick one of these. Maybe you galvanize around the why now. You sit down and you explain to your team why this is important now for us to focus on. And when people understand that context and have that clarity, they're going to more likely to follow with urgency or act fast or move fast. So you can do that. You can model more excellence. And so if that's a place where you need to double down on you setting the pace and people seeing you follow through on the priorities in front of them so they can watch you and they can follow you. Or you may want to have conversations with people on your team to identify bottlenecks and work as the leader of the team to remove those bottlenecks. And if you do all of those things, or if you pick one of those, incrementally move it forward, then you are going to be more likely to set the pace of urgency, and your team is more likely to move at the speed that you want when you're trying to accomplish the goals that your team has together.